a class notebook through Microsoft OneNote, specifically the class notebook version. So I'm in my Canvas account. This is my sandbox one, so no students actually in this one. And I already have class notebook linked here. Now, if you do not have it in your navigation, if we come down here into settings, first you want to check in your, so if I go to my navigation, make sure if it's down here, you drag it up. If you don't have it at all, we come into apps and you're going to just look up class notebook and then you're choosing this Office OneNote class notebook. Once you have it, you are going to click on it. And this will be a way for your students to access their notebook. They can also access it through the waffle going through Microsoft as well. Now, if you are not, class notebook, not Office 365, but that's another way for your students to reach it. Okay, it should come up with this screen for your first time using it. You're going to say sign in, and I'm going to sign into my account. Now, I have some notebooks, so I could go into manage, but you are going to be choosing this create a class notebook. By doing it through Canvas, it's going to link directly to your Canvas. You don't have to try to link it later. So are you sure you want to create a new class notebook for this course? You can only have one linked. If there is one, your students do keep access, but it won't link within Canvas. So we'll say okay. And we're just going to say example. So I remember this is an example, but you could make it whatever name you wanted. Let's say you teach 8th grade science, geometry, whatever it is. Go ahead and name your course and say next. Now, when we look at these features, it just kind of breaks down what your students have access to. So if you've never seen a notebook before through class notebook, collaboration space, I, as a middle school teacher, keep that one off basically all the time because we're virtual and my students, we can we can do collaboration through Zoom and stuff, but if you want to use it, you will be able to turn it on. Content library is kind of like basically that old file cabinet you kept in your room where it had extra copies of all your resources. Teacher only section is where you are going to be working on all of your activities while you're creating it. Here you don't have to worry about students seeing it unless you're sharing your screen. And then student notebooks, that's where each student, you can send them stuff, they can create their own pages. It's basically like an online digital notebook. So we're going to say next just for a moment. We can go back and edit these. Now, if you have a co-teacher or if you are making a notebook for my example, you will be able to type. Please note for a class notebook, you are limited to the people within your school district. So I can't put my personal email address and link it in there. It has to be within my own school district. But we're going to say next. Also, even if it's not a co-teacher, let's say you teach social studies and the other social studies teacher in your grade, you guys want to plan together. By giving each other access to your notebook, you're able to copy your resources between it. So even if you don't give them access right now, you can always go back and add them later. So we'll say next. Now, you could automatically add all of your students. So if they are linked, hopefully correctly, you could, or you can type and paste your students and add them. So I'm going to say that just for right now so that none of my students randomly get put in there. And I will say next. These are the default ones that are given. I personally, because I used a interactive notebook in my own classroom previously, I did not use these, so you can get rid of them. And I did mine more by, I say unit 1 and then whatever it is, unit 2, and you can always add more as you go. If you want to have a student free space or student space where they can treat it like their doodle book, whatever they want, that's fine too. We say next. It gives you a preview of what it would look like on my end. So this is what the teacher side, and then this is what students would see. And as I was saying, you are going to be able to make changes to this because you haven't added your students yet. We're going to say create, and we're going to give it a few moments. It does take a little bit of time at first to start. Now, I can access it online. I do recommend, if you have not downloaded the OneNote app, that you also download it there. For now, we are going to open it in online. You do have access to, as I was saying there, you can get those trainings, but I'm going to keep walking you through it. Okay, so now you are in it gives you kind of like a general overview, gives you some suggestions if we want to go back and make changes. So now that I'm in, if I come back to Canvas and I click on Class Notebook again, if you ever want to make changes to your thing, you can click on Manage Notebooks, and I have quite a few notebooks, but when you manage through Canvas, it will only be yours. So as I was talking about that collaboration space, I keep it locked because when you open that up, students can share stuff with each other within the notebook. They can communicate within the notebook. So if that is something you do not want them to have access to, you can. The parent and guardian links, if you click that, if there were students in my notebook, I would be able to give them there as well. And then for having students join, so if I come back, Class Notebook again, and I want to add or remove students, as I was saying, you are able to type in your students. In theory, if they are in their Canvas page and they click Class Notebook, they will be able to sign up and join as well. I personally find it, I know it's a pain to have to type in every kid's name, but I find it a lot easier to add your students in if they're younger, just because it is a longer process than need be. So if I wanted to, I would go in here and I would add all my students. So even though, yes, you can have your students click Class Notebook and it will start to create their notebook for them, if you pre-put them in, it'll be a lot easier in terms of setup. In my other videos, I will explain how to, now that we've got a notebook, how functionally to make sure it's looking right, but that is how you set up a class notebook within Canvas.